Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we start our first discussion, may I call on DTI Region 7's Marilyn Tancinco to lead us in our opening prayer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for bringing us into this new day with new hope, with sound heart, mind, and body. We offer this gathering, this mentoring program this afternoon as an act of perpetual praise. Bless us all, Lord, organizers, mentors, and mentees with open hearts. May all of us share the purpose in this program to impart to each other our startup journey, learnings along the way, and our unique experiences. May everything we think, do, and say in this session be all for your greater glory, Lord. All this we ask in Jesus' name and through the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Amen.
And now for the Philippine National Anthem.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Tayang mag-ibig, dahil sa sinangalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuyagan ang mahitig, sa mandulupin, di ka masisingil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ng pangaw, ay hinatang tula.
Thank you so much. Again, good afternoon and welcome to our very first session for our fourth cohort of mentees for the Startup Island Mentoring Program. This afternoon, we are going to talk about developing the organization, and we will be graced by two of the executives from Republiq Group of Companies. But before I introduce both of them, I would like to recognize our mentees, our 7 final mentees who accepted to become the cohorts of this batch. I would also like to thank our DTI 7 team, Sir Jojo, Sir Chris, Miss Ella, and Miss Marilyn. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, we're also joined by one of our Farside mentors, Seth. Hi, everyone. And again, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So let's proceed. I'd like to introduce our two awesome mentors. We've chosen them to teach or to become mentors of the batch this year because they have good experience in building and developing an organization. First, I'd like to introduce Bryan Yap, the CEO and founder of the Republiq Group of Companies. Hi, Bri. Good afternoon.
Hi, Joy. Good afternoon, Joy.
Hi. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Happy
glad.
to be here.
Yeah, we're very happy that you're here and spending your weekend with us. And we're also happy to introduce our other mentor, Miss Bea Alfar Evardone. Miss Bea is a creative communicator who leads operations, creative content strategy, and business development for Republiq Group of Companies. And she is the Group Chief Operating Officer and the Creative Strategist. Hi, Miss Bea. Good afternoon.
Hi, Joy. Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Hello to our mentees. Good afternoon. I hope that you're having a good Saturday.
Yes, I think we are having a good Saturday, especially when we're spending it with you guys. So without further ado, I'll leave you guys to it.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our friends at DTI, those who are here in Zoom, and to those who are watching us over at Facebook Live. And of course, to our mentees this afternoon, mayong hapon ka natong tanan. So as mentioned, my name is Bea Alfaro Verdone. With me right here is Bryan Yap. And I think, Bryan, no, it's safe to say that we are the leading or pioneering team of the business that we built called the Republiq Group of Companies, which is basically the largest digital agency in Visayas and Mindanao. So this might be something new to our mentees today. You might think or you might be expecting a presentation or parang a formal conversation and engagement. But then if we're going to do that, Bryan and I, that wouldn't be us. So the two of us, as safe to say, ba, Bryan, medyo co-founders, pioneering team of the business that we have now. We're very casual,
Yes.
we're very laid back. So it wouldn't make sense for us to be all formal. So we want to be as relatable and as conversational as possible to everybody else. So expect that this entire engagement would be very conversational, very less on parang theories and fact and and parang concepts, but really more of our experience and case studies. So I think that's where we would be able to learn the most. So Bryan and I are just gonna take a walk down memory lane and talk about how this all started. And I'll throw the first question over to Bryan. So Bryan is the CEO, but really what he does is drive us around. Like pag pandemic, wala na siya work because he's the one who drives us around to our meetings. So right now he's just at home. He's not doing anything. But yeah, he is the chief executive officer who drives business development for RGC. So Brian, the topic that we're gonna discuss this afternoon really is how to build a solid foundation for your startup, right? When you actually, because for everyone's information, Bryan and I joined the company later. All right, so he went through so many different startups, and parang I was in the latter part of the startup he was building, a newer startup he was building. So I'd like to throw the first question to you first, Brian. What did you have any idea or any knowledge of the foundation that you were building for the company that you were building before? So did you have a manual? Did you follow it? How did it happen? Can you take us back to those times?
I think siguro Bay, and I think you have your own share of experience of co-founding a company as well. But prior to that, none of us really had that experience in starting a company or even making that decision. Like, what are the type of people that we need to have as a co-founder? What kind of team structure that we want it to be? We just made it happen. But I really think, based on experience, what I really can share is, never, just bring in a co-founder just because you need their skill set. And I think one of the most important there in bringing your co-founder is both of you the same passion. Number one,
Right.
both of you have to have the same direction and the mission of what you're going to be building. You really can't just handpick a person out of the blue because you need that person, because eventually it's still gonna fall out. But I also think that when you bring in a co-founder, especially for example, if you're the one leading the company, you have more stakes in the company. I think one of the most important there is, never just bring in a technical person for something like that. You really need to bring in a person that can actually help grow the business. And
Okay.
the reason for that is once you get to a certain size of a company, technically you can hire, but it would be very hard for you to hire or pay someone that can actually help grow your business. So I think in the first part, as being a startup, is you really need to find those founders who can wear multiple hats and who really, has the same commitment as you have. Because if it's going to be you know, if it's just going to be, not fully committed, it's not going to work out. It's really not going to work out. I mean, like when you're starting a company, you're not just the CEO, you're not just the co-founder, but you're basically everything else. You're the driver, you're the accountant, you're the HR, and you know that, Bay, because also a backstory before I got Bea to join the company. Bea also runs her own agency of a team of I think three. And I know at the same time, Bea was everything else. Bea was social media manager. Bea was, accounts. So, and you really have to put in the commitment, right, Bea?
Yeah. So I think one of the what Bryan is driving at now to our mentees now, how do we actually look for the perfect team or the perfect partner for my startup? So the first one tingali that Bryan was mentioning is someone capable of wearing multiple hats. One of the quotes that I have read that actually really resonated to me was that building a business from ground up really entails a lot of hard work. So for you guys to even make that decision that you want to be a founder, it means that you're not a normal person. I would always say that because if you think that because you have an option, you could always just go through the route of employment, and you don't have to think about anything else other than showing up for the job that you're paid to do, like what's in your job description, and that's it. But then when you decide to become a founder, you actually decide for a life that's will give you sleepless nights, will give you a lot of decisions to make, will give you so much more responsibilities than what an employee could do. So once you've chosen that route, be prepared to, number one, wear multiple hats. So your strength may be, let's just say, let's say your strength is in tech, but don't expect that all you're going to be doing when you start the business is all tech. From time to time, you'd be expected. So like for my story, my strength is in writing and in management, but then I also ended up becoming a food stylist. I also ended up becoming a photographer, a videographer. I wrote scripts. I coordinated with different talents, influencer marketing, and everything else. So you have to wear a lot of hats because you have to think about being very lean when it comes to investing in your people. So I think that's number one, Brian. Look for someone who's willing to wear multiple hats for you. And second, I think if I may add, which is what's really important to me, is that alignment in values. Because if you hire the most talented person in the room and that person could actually take you to greater heights, then that's good. But then always remember that you and your co-founder or your founding team will have to make a lot of decisions along the way. When I say that you're going to make a lot of decisions, these are decisions in who to hire, where to invest, who to fire even, who to make connections with, if this partnership is actually worth it. So these are questions that you will have to make together. And if your values are not aligned, like this person only cares about profit while you naman care about people. This person, your other co-founding team, only really care about marketing and doesn't really care about the numbers. So values in terms of what they think would be important in terms of running the company. But at the same time, this is for me, parang belief system and values ninyo and principles as a person. I think that's very important because as I mentioned, you're going to be making a lot of decisions along the way. And these are very important decisions that you have to make. So number one, look for someone who will be willing to wear multiple hats. And then number two, look for someone who has values that are aligned to yours. Because at the end of the day, when your values are the ones being questioned or put to the test, you're going to have a hard time making a decision. So yun. Brian, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think one of the most important also there, Bay, I do agree on the values. And that's something that us as a company, when we were a team of 5, and when Bea joined a team of 18, our values changed. And we put more importance on people rather than profit. So I think when Bea joined us, we became a bigger team. We became more impact driven rather than just profit driven. But bringing in your co-founder as well. One of the more important thing that you need to put in is trust. At the end of the day, if you don't have trust within your co-founders and within your team, it's not going to work out. And as mentioned by Bea, talent can only go you so far. And I think Bea knows this as majority of the team. Within the company, I have the most less talent. The most talent that I have is basically driving the people around and feeding them around. And I think really because I do have a trust in my team, so that's why it actually things work out really well. But also I think I kind of wanna. I think majority of our startup here, Bay, are really starting. Either they're starting to build a product or they haven't built a product yet. But I kind of wanna discuss Siguro, Bay, like the stages and evolution of how we became a team of 5 6 years ago with a team of 85, and what were the evolutions that we had to take steps. I mean, like, Bea joined in the organization when we were a team of 20, right, Bea?
15.
And we were a team of 15, and it was chaotic. When I say it's chaotic, there were no systems in place. There were no HR. There were, of course, there were accounting, but the metrics were basically all over. I'm not saying because you're just starting your company now. I would suggest that you don't think about HR yet. You don't think about hiring operations manager, because for one, you're a startup, you can't afford it. These are basically stages that you have to go through. Even us now as a team of 85, we are just gonna start hiring our own HR. And I think the most important when you're starting a company, you as the founder needs to be the HR, because in the first 30 to 40 of your employees, I would say that you have to be very very connected to them. You have to be very connected to them because those are your foundations and pillars. It's only just now that even me and Bea doesn't even know, because all hirings until now, Bea still has to go through the last interview, really more on the culture. And I think that's something that alignment of culture and values. And I think that's something that that's very important for you guys as startup founders to really establish that as early as now, aside from establishing what product you want to sell.
So
right,
I think what Bryan was driving at is that you've already found your founding team. You on our end, really the qualifications is that, number one, are you willing to wear multiple hats? Because we never claim to tell our employees that we are the experts in this field. In our case, we are a digital agency who run multiple media pages and handle social media accounts and branding. We always say that we're not the expert, but we want to build this team together or build the company together with your help. So are you willing to do it? So you, number one. Second is, are you aligned in values? Are you aligned in values? And third, is this person someone that you can trust? So if you notice, in all the three things or tips that we actually gave you, nothing is too technical. It's really more of a solid foundation, really breeds on alignment and connection with your co-founders and your starting team. And when you find your first 5, 10 employees, 15 employees, one of the things that actually allowed us to build a very strong foundation for them is we love the hell out of these first few employees. Meaning, since we're growing this together and you've put your trust in me or in us now, we don't know what we're doing. We're still, trying out these things. We will try to reward you in ways that we can, whether it's, little things like eating out, exposing them to different conferences, different events, being able to stay with them and really work with them throughout the hours. So just really making them feel that as a founder, you are there for them and you are building this business with them. Now, Bryan mentioned that I joined the company. We're still a team of 15, and yes, it was very chaotic. So when I joined in, the first thing that I did was to make sure there were systems and processes in place. I think one of the things that a lot of founders fall trap into, especially when you're a founder who is also skillful in terms of the technicalities of your industry or of your product, you tend to fall in love with the entire process and you want to make sure that you're part of the entire thing. So meaning, let's just say that, very badly put, your product is that you create, very simple, you create shawarma and you've perfected the recipe. You like talking to people. You want to be the one to personally develop the relationship with your customers, deliver it on your own, like ikaw as an owner. But then again, if you are going to be the one, mga mood gud ana, and you would be the one who would always make sure that I need to be hands-on. I want to be on top of everything else. The question is, if you're gonna make that decision and you're now a team of 5, 10, 15, you're growing. The question is, are you actually scaling? Are you actually putting your efforts right in the right place? As the founder, you're the visionary of this company. Remember, your first few employees believed in you and they believe that you're supposed to drive their direction. So if you fall into the trap of wanting to be active operationally every day, then you're not being efficient. You couldn't drive your people to where you promised them to be. So systems and processes have to be in place. And the first step there is really letting go. I'm not saying letting go of quality, na parang I'm gonna let go, I'm not gonna make my shawarma anymore. Ikaw na mo himuan na, that's it. It means being able to empower someone else. You replicate your skills to another person who can do it to you on a daily basis. So replicate it. So when we were growing 15, so when we were 15, I put processes in place that the social media manager couldn't function. You notice from multiple hats to now wearing a more solid hat that you could own as a person. So this person who used to be a social media manager, a project manager, and a copywriter at the same time, I think you will have most potential in social media. Let's hire another person so we could scale. So yun, and then empowering them, allowing them to actually make the decisions on their own. And then when we grew to a team of 30, I think that was in a span of less than a year, when I joined the team, we had to really establish leadership already. So katong imuhang mga those people that you hired first, the first people that you hired who hopefully has stayed with you and you have trained and you have loved and you have been with for the longest time will be your leaders, will become your business leaders. So I now have a team. I had a core team before. So it was I leading the operations, and then I had 2 people, which I called my pillars. So these 2 people ran ang isa kay social media, which is the core of our company, and the other one ran project management. And then eventually I brought in a leader from the copywriting team and the creative team. So we became a team of 5, na murag core. And then once we started growing, an accounts team, an operations team, and now we are a core of 9 running the company of 85. So as a founder, you're no longer expected to know every single thing that's happening within your company, because the foundation you've built is built on empowerment. Being able to pull in those leaders that you see, empower them, allow them to lead on their own, so you can focus as a business leader to drive the direction of your company. So what happened instead sa una, when you're a small company wearing multiple hats, as you grow bigger, you will be more efficient if you wear 1 or 2 important hats that you're extremely good at. And that's how you actually grow the business. Bryan, you want to add anything there?
I kind of want to do a step back. I kind of want to ask the question. I think this goes for both of us, siguro, na I think both of us, Manggod Bay, you're more on the, you're management, but you're also technical at the same time.
Yes.
What if all the founders of the company are technical founders? like what if all founders are technical founders and none of them are I would say um, you know entrepreneurs yet. I'm not saying technical can't be entrepreneurs, they can be, but what all of them are technical founders? Would do you suggest for them to find another co-founders, a co-founder that's actually more entrepreneurial driven?
For me,
Or
Brian, no, if you could afford it and if you could look for that person who's actually aligned in terms of values and vision, who could do something that you can't do, there's really nothing wrong with being able to outsource that or to hire someone else to do it for you. So like Brian is a visionary and he's also technical. His technical capabilities is more on the development side while I'm in the creative side. So that's our difference, Brian and I. Brian is very good in opening doors and establishing relationships while I am good in operations. So when I joined the company, Brian was technical, he's a very good entrepreneur, but he was struggling, sorry Brian, but he was struggling with operations, putting things in place. And so when I came in, I was a different person. And then, Brian was so in love with the process and everything else. Na parang he really told himself that he needs help in that aspect. And so he looked for another person, which was me. And then he pulled me in. Now, ako na po, when I actually was in the team, my heart is in creative strategy and operations. So I wouldn't say I'd be best in relationship building and being able to look for clients. I can pitch, I can talk, but I'm not the type to really build the relationship. So it's someone else. So it was Gab. So we pulled in another person, empowered her, and she led accounts, which contributed to the growth of our company. I'm not good in boosting and technicals, creative strategy. So someone else is doing that for us. So if you could actually, when you reach a point where you can afford it, so again, make a person assign or empower another person to do that for you. So if technical mo tanan and no one's entrepreneurial,
no one's operation, no one's finance, still not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. Or it can have the potential to work, I would say, but it would take a bit longer. So it's up to you what your metrics will be in terms of when do you want to achieve these things. Because if you're gonna do it on your own, it's gonna take a lot of time.
Also, Sadbe, for me, when you're actually starting your own company and you're starting to build the team on God, I always go back. Don't look for the most highly skilled. Look for the most passionate, because when you start your own startup, there is probably more. Misery might not be the right word, siguro, Bay, but there are going to be more challenges than wins, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Manggod nga the most passionate person, Manggod, will not give up in a way. I mean, the struggle that we actually have when we started RGC. There were so many low point that we had to go through. So
Yes.
if our founding team were not actually passionate, we would have given up. And if we would have given up on that part, we wouldn't have a team of 85 now today. So I think when you're starting to build your core team, find the most passionate and who's willing to build with you, not because of profit but because of purpose. Because if you're a startup, you're not going to get profit in the next 2 to 3 years. Don't expect that. And I think this, that most startups actually fail in the first year, right? But once you do get past the first and the second year and you break even, that's probably the time that you're gonna have more wins than losses. So I think the co-founding team for you guys is actually very important to be very passionate. That's really the most important. And I think when you're also passionate at the same time, for example, if most of you guys are technical, because you're passionate, you're gonna learn how to do it. You're gonna learn how to be HR. You're gonna learn how to be accounting. the startup island program is good because I think even me and Bea, if we didn't have the right mentors to guide us, we would not be where we are today. So I think you, as I said, don't find the most highly skilled, but find the most highly skilled mentor that you can find, because these are the people that who will guide you and who will teach you the things that you don't know.
Right. So I think those are parang important things to keep in mind. And there's a question here by Gerald Velarde asking, great insight. Can I ask if there is a difference around this advice for startups and agency type businesses? Do you want to answer that, Brian?
I think technically it's all the same. It's still business. When you talk about startup is still a business. Agency is still a business. It's really just, you're putting out a different product out there. But I would believe, I'm not going to say that we're the most experienced. We haven't really built a billion-dollar company. But I would say the foundation should be the same. I think it's really just the products that's actually making it different, right? Probably the team composition will actually differ as well, because when you're building a tech startup, you need to really have a technical founder. It's not gonna work when you're building a technical startup and none of you guys are technical, and you're just gonna basically outsource the development. Not unless you have a really really deep pocket that you can actually burn money. But and I think the foundation in building a very solid team is the same, and the mindset is the same, because it's basic business, it's entrepreneurship, right? So it should be the same. Be?
Yeah, Brian was able to answer that right. So at the end of the day, the principles, the foundation of a good business lies within what's the first few years actually, and how you were able to build it. So as long as you have the right mindset, and as long as you have the right mentors, and you have the right vision for it, it's the same. It's still really running a business. In fact, I think 2 years ago, I'm also a member of the Global Shapers community. I'm one of the curators. What we did was we found out that a lot of social enterprises or businesses, startup businesses, sorry, like what Brian mentioned kanina, fail within its first 2 years. And the reason for that is because the founder, who is very passionate about the product or very technical about the product, failed to understand that running a business, that starting having or running a startup is just like running a business, and there are basic principles you have to understand when you actually run a business. So it may sound like it's a startup, it's an agency or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's entrepreneurship. You have to understand finance, you have to understand operations, you have to understand legal implications, you have to understand many different things, marketing and communications. So these are basic principles that have to be present within the business. So in terms of building a solid team, no matter what it is, whether it is a team for your for an F&B business, or for a tech startup, or for an agency as ours, when you actually build the foundation, at the end of the day, you have to look for the right people. You have to drive the right people, and you have to have the same kind of mindset when it terms, even if different in your company. So yun.
Also, Bay, I kind of want to insert, like, you might think now that we're not we're a big organization. We have a good decent amount of revenue. I really just can't say. But within the RGC, we're not just one business. We have probably 6 business units internally, and each of these 8 business units, and each of these 8 business unit was actually built from ground up as like a startup. And when I say it was built like a startup, because it started with 1 or 2 people, although they're not, I would say they're still considered a founding team, but we treated them as a business unit or as a startup, as an organization. It was
Go ahead.
go ahead, Bay. For example, like one of the business unit that we actually have was, Buy Social. It was born 2 years ago. It started with a team of two
Two.
people, two
Three.
people that full, two people that's full time. Bea and me were not full time at that time, but that team now grew to probably 5 to 6 people, right? So it's the same. It's the same. We basically applied what we've learned when we started the company, the right values, the right people, the founding team, mindset is really more than important. So even our business unit, Chance, was actually wearing multiple hats. He was project manager, he was talent relation, he was business unit, he was accounts. But now that because that business unit become bigger, then we actually put on more resources and time, right? May?
Yeah, so we, as what Bryan mentioned, the principle of building the right team and being able to build a solid foundation is being done multiple times within our company, because again we have multiple business units. So Buy Social started 2 years ago. It was a social media manager or as a project manager, Chance, who just wanted to experiment, and now it grew into a team of 6. And we have 300 content creators and influencers across the country that's actually within our network. And then when we also had another parang influencer and creator incubator, which we just finished last month. It's called Hatchery PH, where we teach and mentor content creators and influencers to become better in their craft. We also had a dedicated team who ran the entire program. So I would say that I would consider that as a successful business because it actually earned profit during its first year. So it's being replicated. Just to add into the point of Gerald, because of the mindset of being able to build a solid team. So Hatchery is being run by 4 people. So same principle, same mindset, and then it's being replicated multiple times. Different kinds of businesses. Hatchery is an incubator program. Buy Social is a talent agency. We have an event, Bicon Invest. They're all revenue generating business units that have different business unit heads. So that's how we actually were able to build that kind of parang mindset of building a solid team. So yun. So at the end of the day, guys, what Bryan and I would just like to remind everybody is that it's very tempting to hire people because of just talent, but add in that layer of alignment in terms of values and vision, and that makes all the difference. And once you actually hire them, keeping them is more important than actually hiring them. How do you get them inspired? How do you get them interested? And as founders and business leaders in your own startup, you have to make sure that you keep feeding, especially the first, let's say, 5-15 employees that you have. Make sure that you actually really make them see the vision and where you're taking them, and then empower them, allow them to make mistakes, allow yourself to make mistake, and never claim to be the best at what you do. Remind them that this is something that we're building together from ground up, and that makes all the difference. We've replicated it multiple times with the multiple business units that we have that are actually generating income already. And I think if you also do that to your own teams, I wouldn't be surprised to see you guys succeed as well. Anything you'd like to add, Bryan?
Okay, I think I kind of wanna this probably one of my last statement for as a founding team. And I think you have to remember the reason why I'm not telling you guys to outright hire the best expertise of the people. It's really because the first product that you're building right now is not going to be the last. It will be iterated. It will evolve. So always remember that the first product, the first idea you're building now, it's not going to be the end product that will make you succeed. That's what I'm saying. And I think finding the most passionate people should actually be with you all the way, because you don't want at the end of the 6 months after deploying the product, that person will say, we've been iterating our product. I don't want this anymore. I want to resign. And when your co-founders resign, it's going to be a big challenge for you guys. But something also that I need. This may not be part of me and Bea's topic in terms of organizational structure, but as co-founders, you need to have a balance. There has to be that one person that was really so passionate about the product, but there has to be that one person has to be a balance, that who's not falling in love with your product. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I have been through so many startups that I myself fall in love with my own product that is so hard for me to let go. And at the end of the day, I still had to let it go. So you need to have that one person to balance you out. And I think even with Bea, that's me and Bea. Now I might be throwing so many ideas to Bea. Bea, let's do this. Bea, let's do this. And Bea is the person to tell me that, Bryan, slow down. Let's think this through. Let's stabilize before we move forward. And I think Bea trusts me enough that for me to throw those ideas. But I also trust Bea enough for me to say, we can't do this, in a way. So technically in our organization, I'm the most optimistic. I'm always yes, yes, yes. I'm not saying Bea is pessimistic, but Bea is much more objective. So you need to have an objective co-founder in your organization as well. So I really think when you're finding your co-founders and your first 10 employees, the values and a very strong mindset has to be there. Because if you don't have those, I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but it's going to be very, very challenging.
That's it. I think that's what we are going to be discussing this afternoon. So to the DTI mentees in the call right now, hopefully we're able to inspire you to look for the right people. Our names, Bryan and I, on Zoom are the same on Facebook and on Instagram. If you actually have any questions or if you want to be able to talk to us about it, so you can message us and we'll be more than happy to extend our mentorship to you guys.
You're on mute, Joy.
Joy, you're on mute.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Wow, what a very insightful session. I love that it was very casual and at the same time it was very informative. So now we're going to see if there are questions posed by, okay, so there's one question. Where do you find where do you find the right people in terms of the platform? I think what the person who is asking this question is, which platform should they use to find the right people?
Sige. There are existing platforms for hiring, but Bryan and I are very good at stalking. So I personally really look at social media and I see people similar to, I have a lot of friends in the industry na similar interests and everything. And then I see what they do, I see what their hustle is. So when I spot an opportunity for us to actually be able to work together, and so that's how we actually parang hire the people. And then so social media, honestly guys, we found a lot of people because of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter even. And Bryan's very strong on LinkedIn, but ako mostly social media. And I think networking events before also really do help. So being able to put yourself out there and meet people who are like-minded, I think really helps. So you put yourself out there. But in terms of platform, social media, good. And because I'm very active on Instagram and on Facebook. So I post about what I do. in at work. And a lot of people would actually, it's gotten to a point that the people are the one messaging me, asking me what I do because my work looks fun, because we have dogs in the office, we have parties from time to time. And then so founders and startup founders, put yourself out there also. Sometimes it's not a matter of looking for it. The question is, are you also positioning yourself as someone they would want to actually work with? So be active on social also. But for on a more regular basis, we do have some hiring posts at MyNemo, Bryan, no? MyNemo and Job Street. But in terms of percentage, being able to hire them there, feeling na ko 20% or 10% ra ang among na-hire sa MyNemo and Job Street. The rest are social media and people who actually messaged me and people we work with. Like usually this is what happens. We hire an employee and then that person recruits another person and then siya. So it's kind of a cycle, but
yeah. Sige. I think that's a very good point what Bea actually said, especially when you're starting as a small company. And we're not saying that the MyNemo platforms or it works. It really works. It's not about a question. But I think when you're starting a founding team, it has to be recommendation. It has to be very personal, right? The first 40 employees that we hired never really came from jobs platform. The first 40 employees really came from recommendations of people. Bea was actually recommended by our creative director. I stalked Bea. I added her as a friend. Bea didn't know who I was. And when I got to talk to Bea, I interviewed. So I kind of knew who she was. And normally, and I think this is something that weird interview when we actually interview our employees, asking them, what's your dream? What's your passion? Because at the end of the day, and I think the first solid employee that you guys have, if they're just going to work for money, it's not going to work. Because remember, you're a startup. You cannot compete with salary structure for bigger companies. So for me, the first few employees that you're going to join your company should be with you in the vision that you have, in the values that you have, right? So yeah, hiring, social media, really helped for us.
Agreed. I also think this is because you're in an industry that uses social media a lot as a tool for your clients and even your company. So I think that's also one thing that our founders should take note of. So where your let's say where your target clients are or where your market is, I think that should also be one of the platforms that you should be considering, right? And it's really great, right? Like, it's really lucky. I don't like using the word lucky so much, but it's really lucky that you guys got into a really good agreement with each other and are now growing your company together. And I think that's one of the questions that is being brought up in one of the Facebook groups that we've shared this live feed to. They're asking, how do you sustain your relationship with the first people that you hire? And I think this will be the last one before we cut off the live feed.
Okay. Bea?
So for me, I actually do have for the first people, they became kasi our business leaders. So I would have weekly meetings with them. And you know what? The weekly meetings, I don't ask them about numbers. I don't ask them about their achievements and accomplishments because there are reports for that. But it's really more of how are you? What are your wins and challenges for this week? Kumusta naman mo? That's a very, very strong parang practice that we actually have in the company. The numbers, the technicalities are done on a daily basis. It's there and I see it. But then your leaders, your first few hires that have hopefully become leaders in your company, you have to keep in touch with them on a more personal and emotional, empathetic approach all the time. Because again, you were the ones who started this together. And you have to also make sure that they are still on the same page as you. So every week, every Monday, we always have a conversation. How was your week? What were your wins? What were your challenges? And how can I help you? So yun, we always have that conversation. We're always talking and we're always aligned with them. And then apart from that is that we continue to empower them like all the time. So meaning empowerment isn't just giving them responsibility, but also allowing them to make mistakes and leaving room for that. So always keeping them in the loop for everything. Kami ni Bryan, feeling na ko ang the only file nga wala na mo gi-share sa tibuok company are the entire salary structure and everything else. Nanadyo na usa ka file ang dili na mo i-share sa among leaders, but the rest were very open because again at the end of the day to our leaders because you guys believed in us first, and so we want to be as transparent and as open to you so they know everything, every little thing that goes on sa company, and that's actually why we still remain connected even after 5 years, right?
I think siguro Bay, ako I come from a very traditional Chinese family business, and coming from a very Chinese traditional, empathy is not our strong suit. But and I think what really made what really built the culture of RGC today was and you call it the right word, call it empathy management. But when you're really empathetic, be very genuine about it, that you're really willing to help them. We have had employees that really come and go within us. Some of them left, and we never really have better relationship with them when they left, because if we really believe it's what's something that they're really passionate about and it's really going to help them grow, then we really let them go, and we are really more than happy to support their other endeavors. And we've always been very authentic with that part. And I really think also that really be genuine to really help them grow. And I think having one of our mission within the company was really having a growth mindset, never really stop learning. As I said, when you're a startup, you have limited resources. Your job as a co-founder is really just to really help them expose. Even me, I keep exposing Bea and the whole team. Never be afraid that other companies would see them. Oh, guys, your employees are more talented. I want to hire them. And if it's really gonna make them grow, by all means, right? So empathy. I really think empathy really plays a major role, and that's something that not a lot of companies actually put so much value, and it really does goes a long way, right?
That's very remarkable. I think the most remarkable tools that you have used to sustaining your business is empowering your employees, right? Empowering your team. They're not really your employees per se, but they're part of the people who have led your brand to become so successful. And of course, you've built a culture of empathy, which I really find quite remarkable, actually. Thank you so much, Bai. Thank you so much, Bea. And thank you for all those who are watching us at home. If you want more of this, I would suggest subscribing, or probably following Bea and Bryan on their Facebook pages, or you can also go and follow Republiq Group of Companies. They also host webinars and other online sessions that empower leaders and empower entrepreneurs and creatives too. So you might as well go and check them out. So I think that's it for this afternoon's main session regarding developing one's organization. The main emphasis really is to focus on developing that team. And when you develop that team, you can then go on ahead and build a successful startup. So what we're going to do next is we're going to proceed to a more private mentoring session with our wonderful mentors and our Fireside Chat mentor, Seth Mayol, who's also a startup founder himself. But that will only be available for the mentees. So again, thank you so much, everyone, and I appreciate you for tuning in. And if you Have any questions, just message us. And again, go follow Republiq Group of Companies, Bryan Yap, and Bea Bordona on their social media profiles. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. See you next Tuesday. Bye. Take care.